Okay, the purpose of this video is to teach you guys how to multiply polynomials. We are going to talk about 3 different methods. Number 1 being the box or Punnett Square. For those of you familiar with the area model, it's very similar to that. And if you have done any biology yet in your science classes, the Punnett Square is how they do genes. The second way is distributive property. And the last way, which we won't actually get to in this video, is the special products. So we are going to start with the box. Okay, in our first example, we're going to do x plus 2 times the quantity of x plus 3. So if we were using the box method, we would draw out our Punnett square. Okay, and this first expression, I'm going to put my first term there and my second term here. And for my second expression, my first term here and my second term here. Now, because these two are right next to each other, this does mean we're multiplying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these boxes based on how we're multiplying them together. So x times x would simplify to get us x squared. 2 times x would get me 2x. 3 times x would be 3x. And 3 times 2 would be 6. From there, I now have 4 terms, and I'm actually going to pull them out of my diagram. So I have x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. You'll notice I put plus signs in between all 4. It's because all of these are in fact positive, so I'll keep them as positives here. And what you'll notice is you do have a set of like terms that you can combine. These two would combine to get you 5x. And I'm just going to bring down the rest of my expression. And this would be my final answer. X squared plus 5x plus 6. I'm going to do another example using that same method, but this time I'm going to put negatives in there. Oops, it's supposed to be a negative. Okay, so again, I will draw my Punnett square. And I'm going to put my first expression in. I have x and positive 1. And my second expression, which is x, and it says minus 3, so I'm going to turn that into a negative 3 in my box. And I'm going to multiply again. So x times x would get me x squared. 1 times x would just be 1x. You can put the 1 there if you want. Negative 3 times x would get me negative 3x. And negative 3 times positive 1 would get me negative 3. So again, I'm going to pull out all of my terms. I have x squared plus x minus 3x minus 3. And just like up above, we have 2 like terms. We have positive x and negative 3x, and if I were to combine them, I would get negative 2x. And I'm just going to fill in the rest. So x squared minus 2x minus 3. So that would be my box method. Some of you guys might not like drawing that out every time, so I will show you that this is basically just the distributive property, but this one can kind of get a little complicated for some people. So let's say that I have, we'll use the one we just did since we already know the answer. We have x plus 1 times x minus 3. All right, so if we're using the distributive property, that means that we take whatever numbers are on the outside of my parenthesis and multiply it by all things within the parenthesis. The difference is here is that you've got two sets of parentheses. So you have to take everything inside the first one and multiply it by everything inside the second one. So my first thing would be x times x, which would get me x squared. Then x times negative 3, which would be negative 3x. Then I would have to do 1 times x, which would be plus x, and 1 times negative 3, which would be negative 3. So you'll notice that it's actually exactly the same as up here. I did do it in a different order, but we did it through multiplying using arrows. And again, I still have my like terms, so my final answer would be x squared minus 2x minus